Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel. This is a PowderPuff edition. Today we're going to be discussing Brendan Dassey, and we're going to start a long series of podcasts regarding Brendan Dassey and this case against him. So today I have with me Linda K. Listening, BB, and Nothing But a Stump. And I want to kind of open the conversation to our thoughts first on Brendan Dassey and the case and kind of where we're at. And remember this, people, you can join us on Discord. Foul Play has a Discord server, and we welcome all conversation there.
Wonderful place to be.
Thank you. Yes, we enjoy it.
I love it. It's
yeah.
It's as BB puts it. It's the tribe. I found my tribe.
Well, you know, this is about wrongful conviction, most of all. It's a wrongful conviction of an individual who at this time was a child when he was convicted. And there needs to be laws protecting our children from being interrogated ever. Secondly, anyone at a deficit of any kind, minor or not, needs to have a right to advocacy and protection from entrapment, you know?
Well,
What are your thoughts? Where do you want to go for it?
Who wants to start? Go ahead, BB.
I'll go. I think you're exactly right. I think they need some kind of advocate with them. Not only if they have any kind of disabilities, but just regularly, children in general. I like the way UK does it. They have these advocates that go with them. And if the parents can't go, or even if the parents go, they can still have this advocate with them. And I think they need that. What they did to Brendan was so wrong. It just really was. It was wrong. That shouldn't have went on.
It isn't just about oh, poor Brandon. We need to have people to open their eyes wide open to the fact that a child was convicted of a murder that he never did, due to the fact that he did not understand the situation he was in and wanted to please the people around him.
Exactly.
I'll try to
Go ahead.
stick my thought in really quick. Of course, I think we all agree on that. We all 100%. My concern is, no child should ever be questioned without an advocate of some type. My problem with it is, and I don't think obviously it's not just Brendan's case, that we know from Brendan's case that there were not even any parents or adults around who really didn't care, talking about maybe some teachers at school or whatever, or just didn't understand and allowed things. And then, of course, Brendan himself and most children, even 18, 19, maybe even some 20-year-old, just don't understand. It's just kind of when they say, do you understand these rights as I have read them to you? And then they just say yes. Because that seems like the right thing to say. Yeah, you just say yes.
Because you're brought up that way. You're brought up to respect
minor
your
is
beliefs.
exactly that. They're a minor, and they are being taught to obey authority.
Yeah.
I feel like saying 21, they can't drink alcohol. They can't go to the bar and drink alcohol. Then they shouldn't be able to be interrogated by police either.
Exactly.
Alone.
Agreed.
And I wish I could figure out how we could do is make it so that it's unlawful somehow to even approach a child without bringing with you. Let's just talk about Brendan in school. To approach a child or even ask to approach a child without bringing a unbiased counselor of some type with you. social worker, somebody that needs to be a part of law enforcement. Like, oh, okay, yes, we're going to go and interview a child. This is who you're going to take with you. So it has to even be something that, and then go from there.
Right.
Then when you get there with that child, or you get there with Brandon and he's got the social worker or the person on his side, his advocate with him, then you can say, okay, until we get a hold of a parent or an attorney, I'm going to have to stop this interview. You know what I mean? Just something, it's got to start there. It's got to be that way. And I don't know that it's done like that anywhere.
Well,
UK,
here it is.
The UK
and in Minnesota. There's certain
Okay.
states that have adapted where you need a parent or a guardian with you. But I think you need to step even one beyond that, and you really need to have an advocate for the child along with the parent, because parents don't understand themselves. Do you know what I mean? I think they really just the courts need to put in place an advocate for the child.
Well, they have guardians of litem.
Works with, yes,
they
but
have
that
guardians of litem. Why don't they go
different.
why don't they go into the police with them?
That's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to not necessarily guardian enlightenment. I have seen a lot of flaws with them, but somebody who like a lawyer, would like a paralegal, or somebody who understands the laws, or is a lawyer that could be there just for that kid and his rights. Because a lot of parents, whether they love their kids tremendously, they don't understand what is happening. They can be tricked along with the child, because that's what police do,
or threatened,
threatened, not knowing what's going on, being told a complete lie. And I'm not saying just Brendan, we know Brendan's family was not told. We know that Brendan's school allowed this to happen. We know that they treated him, okay, son, but in court it was, where did you get that, sir? So they did these things that are maybe not noticeably there to some people, because they're not thinking about it. But their purpose was to say, son as a child, and I'm on your side, and sir as to, he's an adult, jury. Look at him as an adult because he did this. Do you know what I'm saying?
I know that.
You look at this for 1 second. This is a child. I don't care how large he seems to be in the eyes of anyone. I want you to understand very clearly, this was a child in a room with what he knew to be a couple of cops, investigators. That is intimidating. And mostly brought up to respect adults. And doing that, you think you're helping them, because he wasn't getting results when he was telling his story, but when he was telling their story, they were praising him. He was feeling like he was going somewhere. That's all a conditioning, but still, it's very intimidating to me as an adult who's 50, going to be 58 in a week or two, and I am intimidated by some of the language they use, the way they word things, and the promises that if you keep in mind, a cop does not judge you. He does not put you in prison. A judge and jury do. So you do not need to explain nothing to them. You know what I mean? Yep.
Yeah. They're just not raised to think that.
Well, and I also wanted to say, kind of going back to having a parent with you, and you said, sometimes even parents don't understand. I know that from experience.
You're breaking up.
I'm sure you do it. I am breaking. Sorry,
it's okay.
Better. I've been. I've had a couple of kids who have been in trouble, obviously, with law enforcement. And as a parent, I raised my kids. I was a very strict mom, and I raised my kids. You tell the truth. You tell these men the truth. This didn't happen, but I could see me, if I had been in that situation, telling my son, but you talk to these people. You didn't do anything wrong. And if you didn't do anything wrong, you need to tell them and you need to talk to them. Even I'm thinking I understand that, possibly. I really don't, because, so you're right, Linda. It can't just be a parent. There's got to be some amount of time allowed for the child, the parent, and the advocate to talk about what all these things mean. And I don't know how it's done. I want to bring a solution when I make that comment, but I can't. But So along with the parents being intimidated or, along with being upset, like, oh my God, I don't know what's happening right now. You just tell them the truth, Brendan, tell them what because you're upset too. You don't know that you need to just take a step back and wait till somebody is there to protect you both. And,
See,
when I look, looking at what's happened on that one incident that we've been kind of talking about, um, that didn't, not only did it not happen with Brendan and Barb and law enforcement, people have gone on the attack of Barb because they just assume things, and had Barb been able to, first of all, ever be involved, number one, number two, to have that little support system around her to get her started, she may not have to be going through what I know she must be going through. And so, how do we fix this? I don't know
Well,
how to
from
fix
the
it.
best that I
Right. No,
could surmise
exactly.
from that whole thing, honestly, it did appear to me as though she was very, very adamantly encouraged to not be in there with him at every turn.
Right.
At every
Yep.
That's
turn.
what I thought too.
And to the
Yep.
point where I want to say that even maybe there could have been some intimidation there. And
Oh, there
these
definitely
people do
was.
not play. Yeah.
They don't. They definitely do not, and that just goes to show you the level that they will do. And being a child, which I don't care if some people think 16 is adult. Okay, they do nowadays. Kids think that they're 38 years old at 16.
Right.
Okay, Brendan's not that way. Okay,
Mm-mm.
and Brendan sees things a lot differently than we do. And you know what? Being an everyday person, I wouldn't have known that by talking to Brendan. You know what? But his school knew that. These officers knew that. As much as they want to say they didn't, I do not believe that. I really don't. The school knew it, and there should be something said in school. How do you know your kid isn't being picked up and questioned and going back to school? The school's not going to tell you that.
No.
Okay, they're not for you, for your child. They're for anything. If somebody says, oh, that parent's doing drugs, they automatically will send the police there, or they will encourage the kid to not go home. I've seen it even when
Dare.
I was in
The
school.
program Dare
Even when I was in
encourages
school.
children to rat on their parents, even.
And it is ratting. If you're not being harmed as a child, and you just because the school suspects something, because I want to tell you that personally, when my children were going to school, they assumed that I was doing drugs and I was not there for my children. But mind you, my children were there every day at school. They were dressed finely. They assumed this because I wore a leather jacket and my kids wore leather jackets. And that is the truth. They thought I was this big, bad biker
Stereotyping.
group.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And that's
That's a
what
good
they
one.
do. You know,
I'm
and so
curious, sorry.
no, that I would just want to finish my statement just saying that they categorize people. You know what I'm saying? Like they categorized Brendan. He was one that was going to go along with them. He was going to be easily swayed. Okay, a kid that would be in a biker household might not be so easily swayed. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it
And they
feels
know it.
like sometimes sending your kid to school that you're putting them out there for the piranhas
Yep,
to feed on.
You're
I
sending them to
agree.
the wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
know.
agree.
I don't feel like it was that way when I sent my kids because we were in a whole different. I think we're all kind of in the same generation here and age group, and so I didn't really feel like that way when I was nervous. Like everybody's afraid. You're afraid to send your kid out to the world, in general. But I think now it's like a real concern that we should be like. If I could homeschool all my own grandchildren, I would absolutely.
Let me
'Cause I
tell
don't
you
want to.
I gotta tell you that.
a short story, okay? I knew a lady who was a friend of the family. Her children were good young men. As they started to grow up and they were going to become something and go to college and the whole nine yards, even in junior high, going into high school, something had taken place outside of the school, and one of the boys happened to witness another person being stabbed, and he knew who done it, And do you know, instead of approaching this individual, this parent, they went to the child's school and proceeded to pull him out of class and to question him there on school grounds, never once calling the parents. And then later, the child goes home, telling his parents what happened. And the parents were furious because no one ever called them to let them know anything. And so the parents asked him, "What did you say?" And he said, "Absolutely nothing, because I had nothing to do with it." But he says, "Mom, I know who done it, and I'm scared," because he was afraid of retribution. He was a smart young man. He knew what, the information that he held put him in danger. He was scared of retribution. So they went and got legal counsel right away, because she was absolutely furious that rather than come to her home and talk to her and her children about this incident, they chose to go to the school. And I think because they knew they could walk in there and get away with it.
Yep. And the school needs to be accountable for that. Because if they wouldn't have done that to Brendan, they might not be where he is right now.
Yep.
But they chose to take him out of class and allow him to be seen like that and questioned and taken away from the school. And what the heck is that? I never in my life have ever heard of that.
They know what they're doing. They know. And they're taking full
So they
advantage of
target
their authority. They're abusing their authority.
Yes. And it is child abuse, if you ask me, because it's mental abuse. And do you know that mental abuse can sometimes be a lot worse than the physical? Because the physical can go away. The mental will live with you every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, speaking to that, Linda, I would rather have any bruises or fat lips or welt marks or bleeding thighs from the switch any day over the things that are still to my almost 59th birthday stuck in my head. So I completely agree with that, which is so concerning for Brendan, because I'm sure as he's gotten older and has learned more, he either now realizes or is realizing that, I know his family and his attorneys have told him what was done to you was wrong, but so that's all, knowledge that you get and you understand that. But what's stuck in his head from all those things, from all the I can't even imagine the different emotions and fear that he must have had. If he doesn't have already or doesn't end up PTSD, I will just be even more in awe of him because of what was done was abusive. And I wanted to ask you guys a question real quick. I don't know. I remember that there was a thing going on before trial and everything that maybe it was a rumor, I don't know, but there was something going around about wanting to hold off all the trial and everything because the state of Wisconsin or somebody, they were going to try to implement the death penalty before they tried and convicted him. I don't know how true that was. Regardless of that, that's just sick, number one. But number two, I personally don't believe, no matter how heinous the crime is that a child might actually commit, I don't believe we should be trying children as adults under any circumstance.
No.
Any circumstance. So that juvenile process of punishment, retribution, or imprisonment, whatever, it's got to be changed so that it fits a child who commits a crime, because it happens.
They already have done that. The Supreme Court has decision that juveniles that have been convicted, and they're being resentenced. Of course,
there's actually a show about that.
Yes, and it does have stipulations, and these are the things that bother me so bad in any kind of bill or law when it comes to juveniles. They put stipulations in there that kind of like Brendan's letter that he had to sign. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry.
That was horrible. That's just nightmarish to me. So I don't know. It just seems to me like we ought to be able to figure out a way to adjust the juvenile system And thank God there wasn't a death penalty that could have happened with Stephen or Brendan. I'm grateful for that. But can we not?
I just wanted to say one thing about that death penalty thing. They did try to get it in, but they wouldn't have been. They wouldn't have been getting the death penalty.
They wouldn't have been grandfathered. They
wouldn't have been exactly. Thank you, Bean.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Like I told you, Sammy, before we started, I'm just here. I know I've gotten kind of sidetracked, but I'm just here as a mom. I'm here as Brendan's mom right now today because he can't have too many loving, caring arms of mothers around him for the rest of his life. He can't have too many. So
Yep, that's
I just want to hold.
That's
I won't claim to be Barb. I will never claim to be that, but I will tell you one thing. She's got a lot more strength than I can imagine myself having. I do not know how she feels. It's never happened to me. But my heart breaks enough knowing what was done to her son and to their family that I feel pain. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't claim to know the amount of pain that she goes through. And to me, she's a very inspiring, strong woman. But I do feel the pain. I wasn't. Or how about any mother that's lost their kid? Do you know how many kids are incarcerated? I want to put some statistics out here for you. Okay, since 1989, the wrongfully convicted, there has been over 2,700 and something released since then. And the amount of years that these wrongfully convicted and juveniles are 35%, I believe, that are falsely confessed and false witnessed. And I might be wrong on that. I will go back in my thing here and check to be verifying that. But the amount of years that these people that have been released, altogether, now are you ready? 27,000 years.
Wow.
That is a number that just astounds me. Okay? It astounds me. That is ridiculous. There's a certain amount of percentage, and I'm going to get that right now, so I can just read it from the document. That will be a lot easier, and I will be more accurate then, I don't want to put out any wrong information. I may not be the smartest ball, but okay, let me see. Here we go. It is...
Just a reminder, Linda, while you're looking, I just finished my stats class, so I'm all good with stats. You go right ahead and bring up.
Okay, good. Okay, yeah, that's good. All right, it is... I'm trying to locate where I put it. Okay, so here we go.
Well, we know this is a problem. This is
yes, it is a bad problem. Here we go. Okay.
Because I want people to understand. I want people to understand this. Make no mistake about this. Is not a pity party for Brendan Dassey. This is about, we are trying to get you, the law enforcement, you, the Department of Justice, to please take a look at the flawed system that you have. Can you please fix it? We're asking for you to pay attention, to wake up, get off your high horse and your pedestals, and look at your system for real.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
And care about look at it for real and care about what you're seeing, what you're finding out. Care about it and be transparent with it.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't hide the nasty.
But it will never move forward like that. We're gonna have to fight them practically in the streets for this. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Petitions.
Yes.
Vote them out of office.
And that will be another avenue we are going to take here on PowderPuff.
They play dirty. We're going to have to play dirty. They're not going to just, they're right. Look at, yes, we shouldn't do that no more. Let's not. Yeah, it's going to be like a big uphill fight.
I agree.
It is all of that, BB, that's going to at least start bringing this awareness, because I think that's what we're all here to just bring as much awareness as we can. And if we have to do that, like you said, streets, if any of us give up, and it just stays where it is and gets worse. So if we just keep doing it, even if because I kind of struggle with the not seeing results as quickly as I'd like kind of attitude. I can't give up just because I'm not seeing what I want to see. Doesn't mean I can quit. I have to keep going, and I have to get louder and more obnoxious. And if I have to throw in some disrespect there, then I freaking will.
After this, we have more that we can tackle.
Right, yeah. And I'm looking forward to it, honestly.
And
I really do.
Results, Linda Kay, did you find your numbers?
Oh yes, I've been waiting. Yeah, I got the whole thing here. I brought this up because we're in for wrongful convictions, and everybody knows that that's been a big thing through the YouTube and the community now, is talking about the exonerees and all this and that. So I went for some statistics, and I looked up specifically misconduct contributing factors. The police or the prosecutional misconduct. And for police, it says official misconduct was a contributing factor in 47% of all exonerations on record since 1989. It says the first 74 cases of exoneration, we can break this down further down in two categories: police misconduct and prosecutional misconduct. The first one is police misconduct. In the first 74 exoneration cases, 34% was suppression of exculpatory evidence. 33% was allegation and undue suggestiveness to the pre-trial ID procedures. 11% was evidence fabrication. That's a lot. 9% allegation of coerced witnesses. 8% coerced confessions and admission alleged. 5% was other misconduct. Executional misconduct. 74, same 74, well, first 74. 37% was suppression of exculpatory evidence. 25, knowingly use of false testimony. That's a lot, 25%. That takes it all up. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, and then 11%
adds up to look at what we have.
Yes.
I was just going to say that, Sammy. And when you take all those little percentages, different breakdown percentages, every single one of those is a factor.
I found
this for Brendan and Stephen.
Oh, I found this very interesting, though. 9% of it was improper closing arguments. Okay, and 9% was false statements to a jury. Oh, yeah. Now that right there, that's I thought Ken Kratz, Tom Fallon. I thought of them guys immediately when I was thinking about how they talked to the jury about Brendan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sir.
Yeah, sir. That just really that is just embedded in my head. But anyway, it goes on further. We can discuss it later on at another time. Mm-hmm. When we get more into it. But I just put some of the statistics.
Those are good stats to have.
I want to say again then to law enforcement and Department of Justice, can we please have you to take a look at your system? Because there is
clean up your business.
A problem.
Clean up your business.
This needs
good way to
fixing.
Put it.
This needs fixing.
Across the board. It's not just Manitowoc or Wisconsin.
No, I'm talking across the board, but I want to tell you that it's went from 1% to 3% of wrongful convictions, and that is in 2 years. That is ridiculous.
And what year did you say those stats started?
In 1989.
89. Wow.
And they can all be found on if you just, go up and put in their Innocence Project, you should be able to get it. This one was a lot of it was based on California law. But overall was you know what I mean?
It's everywhere.
Okay,
yeah.
So Here I like to inject a little emotion into, our opinions, our facts, whatever it is that we're dealing with. And I want to say this then, when you look at this stuff, when certain topics are brought up, where people are battling, a lot of the time it is due to the fear that it starts from. All of the fear that gets that ball rolling and these fights get going because these people don't know how to deal with their fear. What are the law enforcement and the Department of Justice fearing in fixing their system? That's what I want to know. What do you fear? There is nothing to fear. Let's get this done. Let's get this took care of, because if you don't,
they become more militarized. Police have become more militarized, less officer friendliest. I think they thought it made them look weak or something, maybe. I don't know, or whatever. But they have become more militarized, and it's not right.
Well, let me say, even the very least of us are gathering together to ask, please fix your system.
Please look at what is going on. Look at the history. Look at what it is today. If it's going up since 2 years ago when we all knew it was bad then, what is it going to be like?
Afraid of the truth.
Right. The truth will set you free, not keep you imprisoned. That is a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of what I wanted to, my emotion here, a little bit of my emotion, because y'all know it can get a lot worse. But I wonder too, what is it? And this is my criminal mind psychology part working as well. What about the ego of that stature or that power makes them think that they are more respected if they get a conviction no matter the cost, or they incarcerate no matter what the cost or whatever? What gives them these personality types the impression that will bring them more respect? And if they were truthful and honest and yes, you have to convict people for things they've done wrong. There's no disputing that. But to get there, you need what makes. I think it was what's his name, Sean, yesterday. I don't know how many of you were still there, but he was saying he would have so much more respect for Mark Wiegert had he done this one act instead of doing what he did to Brendan. And I would have a lot more respect. I'll just use Bobby as an example right now. I would have so much more respect, because I told Sean yesterday there's a part of me that has some sadness for Bobby, because I believe he also was victimized. But
I do too.
Why can't they see that the public, that we citizens would have so much more respect for them being honest and being transparent, and maybe not getting convictions, and then if they're getting convictions at no matter the cost, like at the life of Brendan, what about that personality is I would much rather be respected for the good that I do, or the good that I try to do, than 1,000 evil, mean, hateful things that I might do. I would rather one good act give me a better reputation or a better status, whatever. Not that I'm looking for that, but you know what I'm saying.
These personalities tend to be success driven, not righteous, but success driven.
Yes.
And it all goes back to money.
And they would get blue line thing.
Right. Yeah. They would get more respect and more cooperation from the community if they did the truthful thing. We are all frightful for them, because we know that they do these rotten things, and then it could be any one of us or any one of our children, grandchildren, our neighbor. It doesn't matter. They're doing things that are corrupt, and when that happens and bleeds into the community, you're either so scared you don't do anything and you don't stand up, which we see happening, or you totally retaliate. None of that is good. You need the in-between. They need to do their job the proper way and realize what their job is, and that includes more training. I think more intensive mental. Yes. More psychology into it. They need to do that.
I think there should be drug testing.
Yes, I agree. And they also need to be more involved in the community to understand, be able to be approachable, because then we would trust them better. Right now, if a cop comes to me, I think he's taking me to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and when I say drug tested, I don't mean just for drugs. I mean for steroids too.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
you get a
yeah. Yeah,
rage.
true.
There's a whole
And
bunch of
so,
it. Mainly it's mental. Mainly it's psychology. It is working with the brain to make it do what it is supposed to do. When it sees corruption and it sees it getting away, if you had prosecutional immunity, what is going to stop you from doing exactly
right.
what they did to Brendan and Stephen? Because there's no consequences. None. You know
What
what the
do
And
cases
consequences?
like this?
There's.
What do cases like this say about the really great cops we have out there and the really great investigators we have out there that really truly are doing
Right.
their very best to
Right.
bring justice for the
I'm
people,
Says
glad you,
it.
I'm
you
glad
Says
you
know?
say
nothing for
that,
them.
Sammy, because that was right where my next comment was kind of going. So
It's
I think in a lot of my things are going to be rhetorical, but I try to imagine we're all virtually, I guess, or you could say, marching in the streets right now, just like bashing as legally and respectfully as we can all of these people. And I'll just say Manitowoc because of the situation. We're all just marching in the streets and tearing them down and calling for their heads on a spike, because of the horribleness that they've done. Man, I'm telling you what, I would much rather have all of us doing that because they have done such a great job in protecting Brendan, or not
Oh
allowing
yeah, I
Stephen
see
to.
what you're saying.
it
Yeah.
gives
Know
the
what I
whole
mean?
bunch it gives the whole bunch a bad name, when I'm sure there's a lot of cops out there that put on a badge and want to do right for their community and try to interact with their community and right or wrong, like the kid was graffitiing. Instead of taking him to jail and call him a piece of what, blah blah blah, they could talk to them and say, hey, this is wrong, let's clean this up, make them clean it up, and make them do some community work to learn a lesson. Do you know what I mean? And if you
Well,
worked
Right.
you
with your
know
community, you
what is
become trusted.
what is wrong with them listening to the country and the worldwide community asking for their attention to this, to actually start to look within the system and start trying to change the things that do need changing and actually implement something to ensure that your people can get this right when they start doing these investigations, when they start approaching these minors and end up in the right direction and stop allowing these people that are influential, that are rather voted in or whatever, to have power and control over steering a justice system of which they have absolutely no business doing on a personal level. They should be committing themselves in, as far as Department of Justice and law enforcement, they should be dedicating themselves to the upholding of justice.
To make
Well,
the
and what they
wrongs
were
right.
sworn to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what they swear to. And I'm just wondering how much more vetting, like what we need to change the vetting process or intensity of the vetting, because we're not going to fix the bad ones that we have now. I just don't think we're going to fix them. They've gotten away with it too long,
Yeah.
and their ego, even if they wanted to, their ego would never allow them at this point. None of our players, guys in law enforcement or whatever in Wisconsin, none of them are ever going to step back and say, "Man, I that shit up. Sorry,
It's all
I
good.
That's
messed
okay.
that up."
Well,
there
They're none of them are going to
it
do that
stopped
now.
for
it
example,
stopped it stopped being for the people,
yeah.
and that's
Well,
what it
at the
stopped
hands
being.
of the people that want to control these things.
Exactly. It
Yes.
is nothing but power, control, and money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we're days away from a response deadline. And what is the
Mhm.
harm in that response being something more like, yes, let's go and revisit this? What is so wrong with that? You
If
know?
their story is so strong, what is
Yeah.
their fear? What is their fear of
Right.
bringing this out? I'll tell you what it is, because they were wrong. They
Yeah.
did an injustice, not only to Brendan, Stephen, and their families, but to the whole community and the world, honestly,
There's
because
still an
there's,
opportunity here for redemption
Yep.
for them
yes,
and for the
I
Exactly,
child.
encourage
exactly,
them.
Sammy.
I encourage them to get a moral compass back because they probably started with one, and then they
I
seen the
challenge
cushy
them to do
they
that.
they seen a cushy chair and they wanted it. So you know what I mean? They've seen an eye on a prize. I'm not talking Ken Kratz, okay?
Hmm.
They've seen an
Not
eye
that
on a
prize.
prize.
He's never been my prize, so I
Well,
completely
But
fine.
the
I'll say
corruption would
this:
stop at that.
Zellner tells where she had a prosecutor in Texas that said, "Oh my God, if we got this wrong, let's go over it," and he helped her
Yep.
work on it to see if he had made a mistake.
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
can
they
we
don't get that here.
bring these people out of the woodwork?
Can we
Please.
clone him?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's figure
I
out how to do that.
challenge
Maybe
them
that's the
too.
start.
I think we all challenge them. Do the right thing. Think of
Please.
if it was you. Think about what you really started with in your mind and going through college, how you wanted to make better, how you wanted to make change where you seen wrong. Go back to them thoughts and maybe you will do the right thing.
Yes.
I
And do
think
you
police also need to be trained in de-escalation.
Agree.
They are trained in that though, BB. They are trained in it.
I do not
They're
enough,
not.
No, I
obviously,
mean
not
they need
enough.
to
No, they
they need
failed
to
the
They're
go,
class.
Okay, the
They failed the
training
go
class.
back.
the training may be
trained. They're
being
not using it.
received. They're not implementing the training.
Exactly.
Yep.
I
Check
know
on them
that they
every
get the
6 months.
training. I mean,
Um
I wanted to go into post and do law enforcement, but really quick, Sammy, I don't want to cut you off, but really quick, Linda, I want to just tell you, that, when I've told you many times when I started my criminal justice, courses in college, I went into that thinking I'm going to go fix this all. I'm going to go help these people that are really struggling, with legally, blah blah blah, and I'm going to help them, and I'm going to fix them in whatever capacity, not necessarily law enforcement, but some way. And I just don't feel that way now, and that really saddens me because it's changed. Not that the goal that I'm getting now is not good. I mean, of course, it's great, but it changed completely how I viewed the criminal justice system, and I am so disappointed in it. So,
it can
yeah,
be made better. It really
it
can.
can.
Mhm.
It
It's
really,
not
it
too late.
can.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, if you think about it, Sammy, it started out, when you think about the good old boys, and I don't even want to speculate when that might have been, but when you think about it, things started out very brutal in some places in law enforcement,
Oh yeah.
hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
And we changed
Sammy,
that. We
Sammy, you're
changed
making a
that.
change.
We
Sammy's making
started
a
working
change.
on it, and she's great.
Well,
We
thank
fixed
you.
that.
I
We
think
started
we all
working on
are.
it and making it better.
That's what I
But
mean.
We could
now,
never do this alone. It takes all of us. It's really going
But
to take
giving
all of us.
but
yeah,
giving a platform where you can be civil, you can be logical, you can be factual, and you can still have a heart is not an easy task to manage. And every one of us, I think I could just speak freely for you that it is the best of intentions. We might touch on some things touching on Brendan that is going to be very hurtful, shocking. Who knows? I don't know either.
Right.
But thank you for bringing this up because it is a very important thing. Since the statistics are speaking higher volumes, we need to speak higher.
Thank you. I'm feeling the love.
well, I
Thank
already told
you.
you at the very before we even started that that I have that opinion. But I just I'm gonna make my own little thing here. If we can't take
I'm
care
going
of
to
our
correct you.
children, if we can't take care of our children, we can't take care of our country or our world. If we can't even take care of the most precious things in our lives, the rest of it is going to fall apart.
Yeah.
Because how can it not?
Yeah.
If we're not willing to take care of our children and our future, our grandchildren and our future, whatever you want to call it, what chance does our world have in the future? And I don't mean 100 years from now. I'm talking about 10 years from now, 20 years from now.
Well, that
I have
being
grandkids
said,
that are adults now, so
with that being said, let me also put it out there that there are people raising children right now, and let's be a big part of the proper upbringing of our future law enforcement and Department of Justice.
Takes
Let's
a
do
village.
everything that we can to ensure that they have been instilled with all of the best qualities and understanding of what that really means, because we're living it and we see it and we know it now. So I want to tell everyone who's listening, foul play, we're a foul play team. Together, everyone achieves more. And foul play is on Facebook,
Amen.
Twitter.
Amen.
So there's plenty of platforms for you to jump in on, no matter what your preference is. We're here for you. We welcome you no matter who you are and no matter what your opinion is.
And we have a huge pile of documents at our website, foulplay.site, and everything's free there. You're free to look around. There's even places where you can comment there if you want. Please use it. It's
Check
lots
out
of people
all
fulfilled that. Yeah.
Yep.
Check it
Yeah.
all out. Check out Foul Play with Dr. Silkman, podcast Coffee, and then there's PowderPuff. There's Thirsty for Thursdays. There's the readings. There's, it's just, the list goes on and on.
And let's not
plethora.
forget our sister. Let's not forget our sister station, Linda K. Listening.
Yes.
Oh,
She has some
Gotta
wonderful
have
things
it.
going on there too.
I'm all about the supporters.
Well,
Let me
that
just kind of
goes to me to the previous week's PowderPuff viewer comments. Yet again, there were so many that were positive that I just want to tell you the PowderPuff team wants to thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Well,
Thank
bravo
you
to
for
you.
your input, because it's totally, completely going to be a team effort here. It's never, ever going to be just one of us. And we cannot do it, even without the viewers, the people that are listening, that are just dropping their little opinion, what they think is their little opinion. It means so very much. So I thank you.
Amen.
Together, everyone achieves more. And let us know what's on your mind. Leave us a comment. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I will do my very best to address them. As far as any questions go, well, I do have to address, one little thing here, and then I want to move on to our feel good moment. Okay.
All right.
We were asked, as far as the Brendan calls and why Stephen Avery wasn't given so much consideration. Well, the fact of the matter is we're looking at someone who was a child when he was raked over the coals. He was a child sitting in a chair all alone, trying to please the world and not realizing the situation he was in. So yes, we, out of respect of the requests that we received, chose not to just throw that stuff out there. It is something that I do not plan to revisit the topic on why or how or what we did, but it was our choice, and that was our choice. So,
Bravo.
going back to why we came here, why we gather here, it's about wrongful conviction. So in having said that, I have to bring to you a feel-good moment that was shared, and his name is Archie Williams.
Oh, you're going to make me cry, aren't you? I bawled I couldn't watch it.
So
Bawled like a
listen
baby.
for just a moment. He goes to America's Got Talent.
America.
Yep. And I'm going to let you hear a little tiny excerpt here. And they're asking him before he performs to tell them a little bit about himself. So just listen for a moment. If I get it to play.
I was just incarcerated for 37 years for somebody else's crime. Ooh. DNA freed me. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. On the morning of December the 9th of 1982, a 30-year-old white woman was raped and stabbed in her home. I was arrested on January the 4th. I couldn't believe it was really happening. I knew I was innocent. I didn't commit a crime. But being a poor black kid, I didn't have the economic ability to fight the state of Louisiana. At the trial, none of the fingerprints at the scene matched mine. 3 people testified that I was at home, but they wanted somebody to pay. I was sentenced to life in 80 years without the possibility of parole or probation. I was sent to Angola State Penitentiary. It was classified as the bloodiest prison in the United States. You had a choice to either be strong or weak, because you will be tried and tested. Days turned into weeks, into months, into years, and into decades. It's like a nightmare,
37 years. How did you get through?
Freedom is of the mind.
Yes.
So that is a little bit from the link that's going to be in our description. And to hear the rest of that, you click on that link. He does an amazing performance, and it's going to touch you,
I will be linking right after. I'm in tears.
I know.
I was just
me
going to say,
too.
bring a tissue with you when you watch it, because I had to keep restarting it because I couldn't get past my tears to see him. It's just beautiful.
It's very,
beautiful.
very, it speaks volumes. And I want to say thank you, Archie, for being
Thank you.
so strong.
I love his last statement about the mind. I loved
Freedom
it.
of the mind.
It
Freedom
is.
is of the
Yeah.
mind. Yes.
Yep.
So with
Yeah.
that, I want to say, don't count the days. Make the days count. This has been a Foul Play production.